Guinea-Conakry, we are midwives. We have come here for a short time to clean up the mess that has been with us. We have come here to clean up the mess that the French have always created. We have come here to ensure that the insurgency, which is sponsored by the French in Burkina Faso, which is sponsored by them in Mali, which is sponsored by them in Niger, which is sponsored by them in Guinea-Conakry, that this insurgency will eliminate it and will introduce a new system of governance which will allow the peoples of our country to participate in their governance without being controlled from Paris. They are saying that we have been puppets.
When will a revolution come in Africa? Well, according to PLO Lumumba, the wave has already started and is being fueled by the military leaders in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. Despite decades after gaining independence, France continued exploiting African countries, treating them as its colonies and getting their precious natural resources and gold reserves. But the revolution never came, and the public never rose. And military leaders in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali said enough is enough. Instead of waiting for the revolution, they decided they would bring one, using the barrel of their guns and ending French influence and exploitation forever. These are the sentiments felt by PLO Lumumba, who has called these military leaders true revolutionaries. But what more did Lumumba say that has shocked everyone, revealing what these military leaders are planning to do against France? In this video, let's find out. In 1958, France offered its African colonies a choice: a yes vote for limited independence under French oversight, or a no vote for full separation. Only Guinea, led by Ahmed Sékou Touré, and Algeria, under Ahmed Ben Bella, chose true independence. The rest remained shackled by systems that perpetuated political and economic dependence. And the current military leaders in the Sahel are picking up where Sékou Touré left off, completing the unfinished business of decolonization by dismantling these systems once and for all.
So controlled politically and economically, including their currency, the CFA franc. So that recently, in the 21st century, when young men in the military took the decision that they would change things, it was something that shocked the French and shocked the world. Shocked the French because they said, we are now gaining our independence. What we had was not independence.
Lumumba said that France's reaction has been one of denial and resistance. The loss of influence in the Sahel represents a major blow to its geopolitical standing and its access to resources critical for its own industries, such as uranium for nuclear energy. Attempts to impose sanctions, cut aid, and mobilize ECOWAS against these nations have only strengthened the determination of the military leaders and exposed the hypocrisy of Western powers that preach democracy while supporting authoritarian regimes that serve their interests.
And they came and they warned that they were going to attack Mali, but the Malians said, no, we are going to protect our newly acquired independence. The same message came from Guinea, the same message came from Niger, the same message came from Burkina Faso, and there is now unanimity within the Sahel that the time is now to redefine their relationship with.
Further, Lumumba revealed that unlike the anti-colonial struggles of the past, which relied heavily on guerrilla warfare and mass protests, this movement is leveraging modern geopolitics. By forging partnerships with Russia and China, the Sahelian nations are creating a multipolar world that challenges Western dominance. These alliances offer not just economic and military support, but also a development model that prioritizes sovereignty and self-determination. Led by young, determined Africans, this revolution embodies the spirit of Pan-Africanism and promises to reshape the future of the continent. It challenges not only the legacy of colonialism, but also the structures that have kept Africa marginalized in the global order. As the Sahelian nations rise, they inspire a new generation to believe in an Africa that is free, independent, and empowered. A vision that is no longer a distant dream, but an unfolding reality. The rise of military leaders in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger is not merely a chain of power shifts. According to PLO Lumumba, it is a revolutionary movement, not coups, aimed at liberating Africa from the clutches of French neo-colonialism. For decades, France has dominated its former colonies through manipulation, economic exploitation, and political control. This new wave of military leadership represents a defiant break from the status quo, where France always gets to benefit. What the military leaders are trying to do is to create a road toward genuine sovereignty and self-determination for the Sahel and beyond.
These are not coup d'etats. These are revolutions. They are revolutions because it has become obvious that those who are lackeys of France in the Sahelian region were manipulating the electoral process, were using institutions such as the judiciary for purposes of perpetuating the French agenda. And that these young men from the military came out and said, no, when the people cannot do it through traditional revolution, we are going to do it through the barrel of the gun and use the institution of the military to change the equation. And they have.
Lumumba revealed that these leaders are not opportunistic power seekers, but visionaries answering the call of their people, who have grown weary of false democracies propped up by external powers. Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta in Mali, and Abdourahmane Chiani in Niger understand the aspirations of millions of Africans who demand freedom from the constraints of colonial legacies. That's because electoral systems rigged to perpetuate French influence and elite dominance have failed to serve the people. Hence, these military leaders have stepped in, wielding the authority of their uniforms to restore agency to their nations and their citizens.
First, they are saying we are cutting political ties with Paris. Secondly, we are cutting economic ties with Paris. We are getting out of any organization which is led by France. We are cutting off the situation that compels us to use currency that is printed in France. We are ensuring that our resources are going to be refined, and they are entering into arrangements with a number of countries, including Russia and China, to begin to build institutions and installations that are going to refine their uranium, refine their gold.
Yes, Lumumba said that these military leaders are doing what democratic institutions and African leaders should have done decades ago. They have understood the main elements that have structurally made African countries dependent on former colonial masters like France. One such systemic shackle has been the CFA franc system, a currency controlled by Paris that has kept African economies dependent and subservient. But the military leaders are rejecting this financial system and are taking steps to assert their economic independence. Their strategy goes beyond rhetoric as they partner with non-Western allies like Russia and China to get tangible benefits, including the establishment of resource refineries and the local processing of gold, uranium, and other minerals. These efforts ensure that the wealth of Africa is no longer extracted for foreign benefit, but harnessed for local development and prosperity. For Lumumba, this is the beginning of the absolute and true independence of African nations, the freedom that should have been gained when colonial masters left physically.
Value addition. What is happening in the Sahelian region is, in my submission and in the view of many independent commentators, the beginning of the total liberation not only of those countries but the former French colonies. And it is not lost on me that the leaders of those countries are sending a very clear message. They are sending the message that any institution which makes the claim that is a Pan-African institution but is being controlled from outside will be defied. I remember that day, the day after the coup d'etat in Niger, and I remember the meetings that were held in Accra, Ghana, the meetings that were held in Abuja, Nigeria, the meetings that gave a 72-hour ultimatum to Niger and said, we are going to invade you, not in so many words, but we are not going to allow you. I remember the sanctions that were imposed upon Niger, and I remember all the three leaders, Traoré in Burkina, and I remember the new leaders in Niger. I remember the leaders in Mali saying, we are now entering into a military pact. You attack Niger, you have attacked Mali, you attack Burkina, you have attacked Mali.
This revolution is not limited to economic emancipation. The leaders are actively rejecting France's pervasive political and military influence. French-led military agreements have been exposed as tools of control, perpetuating instability to justify a prolonged presence. The military leaders of the Sahel are calling out these tactics, asserting that true security and stability will come only through self-reliance and regional collaboration. By rejecting these agreements, they are reclaiming control of their defense systems, signaling that the era of foreign dictates is over. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. Solidarity among Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger has fortified this revolution, creating a powerful bloc of resistance against external pressures. When Niger faced sanctions and military threats from ECOWAS, an organization often seen as a proxy for Western interests, the alliance among these nations became a hallmark of defiance. Declaring that an attack on one is an attack on all, these nations have redefined the terms of regional unity, prioritizing collective sovereignty over adherence to foreign-imposed norms. However, the West has used its propaganda to portray these military leaders as power seekers. It's been done to create a narrative that countries in the Sahel region are under dictatorships, unlike democratic governments. Yet they intentionally hide how democratic governments are used as Western puppets to secure Western interests. On the contrary, military leaders have always fought for the people, ensuring the citizens get the most benefits. Furthermore, for France and other Western countries, controlling and manipulating leaders has been quite easy. These African leaders come into power after getting Western support, mainly in elections to get the results as needed. Throughout the entire terms of these leaders, they ensure Western benefits. If now, insurgencies and instability are created and new leaders are picked. However, military leaders are impossible to control because they did not come into power by getting Western support. Lumumba said that these leaders have made it clear that their military governments are transitional. They do not seek to entrench power, but to pave the way for systems that reflect the true will of their people. Their mission is to clean up the mess left by decades of foreign exploitation and corrupt civilian leadership, establishing governance structures that prioritize African interests. By tackling insurgencies, many of which have been linked to foreign meddling, they are working to create an environment where citizens can thrive without fear or interference.
They are saying that we have been puppets for too long. We are now regaining our independence, and this revolution is a revolution which is unique, is a revolution which is being defined and refined by young Africans whose agenda is the spirit of Pan-Africanism. The Sahelian revolution is a revolution which will change the continent of Africa and redefine Africa's relationship with the former.
In Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has revived the legacy of Thomas Sankara, who renamed the nation from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, the land of upright people. Sankara's vision of self-reliance, agricultural independence, and economic liberation remains deeply ingrained in the Burkinabe psyche. In the 1980s, Sankara led a transformation that made Burkina Faso capable of feeding itself, reasserting control over its resources and rejecting the influence of France.
Isidore Sankara was told that you are going to be assassinated, and the possible assassin is Blaise Compaoré. He said, Blaise is my friend. If it is Blaise whom they have hired to kill me, then I will not survive. And he did not survive. France controlled the Sahel because of...
Tragically, his assassination in 1987, orchestrated by Blaise Compaoré with French support, ended this dream prematurely. Today, Traoré is reigniting Sankara's vision, cutting political and economic ties with France, reclaiming the nation's gold reserves, and forming strategic alliances with nations like Russia and China to develop local industries. By ensuring resources are refined domestically, Burkina Faso is building wealth for its people while diminishing France's economic control. Niger, under Abdourahmane Chiani, has become a focal point of this revolution due to its immense uranium reserves. This resource has powered France's nuclear energy industry for decades while leaving Nigerians in poverty. The recent coup in Niger disrupted this neo-colonial arrangement, triggering a desperate response from France.
Niger is a country that is known for her uranium. Niger is a country that is known for our resources, and we know for a fact that even some of the nuclear tests that have been undertaken by the French have been undertaken in the deserts of the Sahel region. We know that that particular area is rich in all manner of resources, and the Nigerians took the decision that we are going to change this. When the coup happened, one of the things that was most frustrating was that a decision was taken that Niger must be treated differently, and people don't understand why ECOWAS reacted in the manner that it did. It was uranium. It was the uranium that is not only used in France, but is used in different parts of the world for nuclear facilities, and Niger sits upon uranium that has value that is inestimable. And the idea to ensure that Niger was ostracized from the ECOWAS community was at the behest of the French. And it is important that the Sahelians have taken the vow that they are going to protect.
Sanctions and threats of military intervention, spearheaded by ECOWAS and supported by France, were meant to suppress this uprising. However, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea declared their solidarity with Niger, emphasizing that any attack on Niger would be met with collective resistance. This alliance represents a new wave of African unity, where nations stand together against external manipulation to protect their sovereignty and resources. Mali, under Assimi Goïta, continues its long history of resistance against foreign domination. From the empire of Mansa Musa to the anti-colonial leadership of Modibo Keïta, Mali has always been a land of defiance. Goïta has reignited this spirit by expelling French troops and forging alliances with Russia. His decision to replace French with Bambara as Mali's official language is a profound act of cultural liberation, rejecting France's linguistic hegemony and reclaiming Mali's identity. Mali's focus on processing its resources, such as gold and oil, within its borders, highlights a commitment to economic independence and local development. Lumumba revealed that France's diminishing grip on the Sahel is a direct result of this revolution. The loss of influence in these resource-rich nations threatens not only France's access to critical materials like uranium, but also its geopolitical standing. France's reaction, sanctions, aid cuts, and military threats expose its desperation to maintain control. This should be seen in the context of what France's former president Jacques Chirac said. He said that without Africa, France would be a third world state. Now, after the wave of revolution in the Sahel region, this might turn out to be the reality where France will lose its dominance because natural resources will no longer flow from Africa to France. Lumumba said that the military leaders in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali are the ones who have given France a reality check, making its current president, Emmanuel Macron, frustrated. And if this wave of revolution reaches other countries on the continent, that time is not too far when all of Africa will be truly independent, with its leaders loyal to its people and not Western countries.
The extent that they are redefining how Europe, particularly France, relates with Africa. Which begs the question, what is new in Sahel? What is happening in the Sahel that is new? Is it a revival of Pan-African spirit? Is it something that is going to change the complexion of that region and by extension change the complexion of the world? Commentators are now saying that while many are quick to characterize the changes in the Sahel as coup d'etats and therefore against the African Union declaration that Africa will not entertain non-unconstitutional changes of power, Pan-Africanists and those who know how France is operating and has operated say these are not coup d'etats, these are revolutions.
What do you think? Will the military leaders in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali succeed in cleansing their countries and spreading the wave of revolution across Africa? Isn't it true that leaders like Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and Muammar Gaddafi were eliminated because they tried changing the status quo and challenging the West? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on the fact that these three military leaders should be protected at all costs to avoid history repeating itself and ensure Africa gets true freedom. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.